Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are having an excellent start to your day. A great week out there so far. Last day of August, about to head into September. Really looking forward to it. As I mentioned in last night's video, I just love the last 3 or 4 months of the year. It's the best time of the year for me. But we're definitely entering and slowly inching into and a little deeper into the peak of hurricane season. And we'll talk about the tropics in this video. But as we always do, until there's something extremely threatening, the morning videos, at least the first half of them, will still go to talking about the weather specifically for that day. So today we're going to talk about the weather for most of the lower 48 and try to break it down for you guys. And then, if you want to skip ahead, go to the second half of the video. We'll give you an update on the tropics because there has been, I wouldn't say a change. You can't call it a change until we get a trend. And I mentioned you need a couple days worth of consistent model kind of output to come through before you call something a trend. But I'm seeing some things on the European that maybe we need to watch out for. But that's pretty much, we'll just leave it at that. But we'll talk about that in this video. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. It goes a long way. The morning videos have been doing very well. And I really appreciate you guys tuning in the mornings. I really do. Hit me up on Twitter. It's a great way to interact with me and to stay up to date with the greatest and latest information. If I'm not tweeting, I'm retweeting other people's information and just trying to get as much weather content out as possible. I will warn you, we're about to enter football season, so I do like to talk a little bit about football too, but I keep the politics out of it, and it's just friendly stuff out there. So if you guys got anything that I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Sorry, my voice is cracking a little bit this morning, I guess. But here we go. 2 a.m. update from overnight. I mean, listen, you got a whole fruit basket out here. You got the orange, you got the reds, you got the apples, the oranges. Well, some people call this cherries in the weather world. But anyways, you got 3 areas to watch out for. One is the area we've been talking about for over a week now, which is Invest 91L. Another is this area of interest right here that has a 40% chance to now to develop. And then this one, which has escalated quickly to now a 50% chance to develop. And I wouldn't be surprised if this takes the D name in the hurricane list. I still think that this is going to take a name. If I had to say yes or no, I still think this is going to become a named storm. Now, a major hurricane like maybe the GFS is showing, I don't know. But the good news for Bermuda is a lot of model guidance has this kind of dipping, recurving, and then dipping south of Bermuda as of now, but we'll keep Bermuda updated. But the southeast coastline with this storm, unless something drastic changes over the next few days, for now, I would say you're in the clear with this system. But we need to continue to watch these waves because the latest European model came out and it looked pretty active. And I will tell you, it's about to get active as far as hurricane season. But, a lot of people relate active to impactful, but I'm not seeing anything threatening or impactful here in the short to medium term at all. Now, as we get a little bit deeper into September, I'm not sure. I can't predict the future. I can't tell you if a hurricane's going to hit the U.S. on September 15th or something. But I can tell you that maybe the European model and its ensembles is showing that, hey, waves are going to keep coming off North Africa. But we need to watch because, listen, the entire Atlantic basin has been hostile this year for any kind of tropical activity. But this is going to be an interesting feature right here. This is actually from a decaying frontal boundary, and this actually has a chance to become not only a hurricane, but a lot of model guidance like this to become a major hurricane way up here in the subtropical Atlantic, central subtropical Atlantic. So 3 really features to watch. One is this robust tropical wave right here, which is already gaining pretty north in latitude, which tells me that this is likely going to find that weakness in the steering currents up here and probably turn out to sea pretty early on. But then we're watching this feature. We'll get a little bit closer in on it later in the video. And then we're watching this. I know this doesn't look like a whole lot of anything, but model guidance likes the idea of this becoming not only a named storm, but a hurricane way up here. So it's going to be pretty incredible if we get our first hurricane in the hurricane season, and it's way up here in the central subtropical Atlantic. So this is actually so far north that it's got marginal conditions to develop, slowly, but it's still south enough that it's sitting in high enough sea surface temperatures basically for it to develop. So we'll talk about that in the coming days for sure. Back here in the U.S., not a very active weather day. Flooding risk will be there, certainly for Texas. We'll show that here in a second, but a marginal risk for severe storms in the middle of the country. And then we'll watch out for the Northeast a little bit later today. Watertown, watch out down there, Buffalo almost, the down east areas of Maine and eastern areas of Maine. Caribou, watch out, could see some severe storms. So we'll watch out for that. But excessive rainfall outlook, pretty quiet, except if you live in southwest Texas. There is a moderate risk of excessive rainfall. That is at least a 40% chance of flash flood guidance being met. So we'll talk about that here. You know, you guys are in a drought condition, so it doesn't take a whole lot of rain. An inch of rain will cause issues down in this area. So let's break it down region by region. The southeast today, pretty quiet. A front is moving through as I speak. This will actually bring some more dry air. Deep into the southern regions, it's a very fleeting air mass. It's not the cold front we really look for to really give us that good fall feel. But I really think some people are waking up this morning, especially in the Ohio Valley, and it feels awesome out there. But I think some people will wake up tomorrow morning for your first day of September, and you'll wake up and say, man, it really does feel like the first day of September as you're sipping your coffee. But this is a very fleeting air mass. I would not compare this to a nice actual fall cold front just because it's so fleeting. Now, you go a little bit further north and it'll feel like fall for sure, at least for a day or two. But I think today most of the rain will be confined to Florida, southern areas of Georgia, and that's about it. Not a very active day in the southeast, but some tropical downpours anywhere possible in Florida today. The northeast, most of your active weather is occurring right now, and it will continue to move through eastern areas of Maine throughout the morning and early afternoon hours. And then you'll watch for another area of showers and storms to develop a little bit earlier this afternoon. And this will sweep through the state of Maine, and we'll watch for any storm development in western New York State. But latest HRRR model just has a little bit of convection flying through, but I don't think this will be a big deal. So overall, pretty quiet day. Now we'll watch for Texas today. You just got a push of consistent moisture into this area today, and you guys are going to get a lot of rain in this area of Texas, southwest Texas, and this entire area, Red River area of Texas, is going to get a good bit of rain today. Here's a little bit of news popping up for whatever reason. There you go. It happens every once in a while. Push the move my cursor over the wrong area, but I think the entire western area, especially southwestern area of Texas could certainly see a good bit of rain today throughout the day, all through the evening hours, and we'll see, and this will probably diminish as you get into the overnight hours. But as far as rainfall between now and tomorrow morning, some pockets of maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain, but of course, I know you're thinking, well, that's not a lot of rain, but for this area it is, because you guys, your soil out here is so dry, you know, it just cannot take in so much rain but so fast. So it's definitely something we need to kind of pay attention to. Hopefully you don't get that much rain too fast today, but it's certainly looking like you're going to get some beneficial rain in this area. But of course, normally when you're in a very bad drought and you get rain too fast, sometimes it just causes a lot of runoff because the soil is so dry it cannot absorb it fast enough. North central U.S. today, pretty quiet. We'll watch for some severe storms in areas of Nebraska. Outside of that, you still got a nice air mass due to the fact that this trough has moved through and created a stable air mass. And here you go. The temperatures for today. First off, look way up here in Canada. I mean, this trough is a nice trough. Once you get pretty north, really entrenched into the air mass that this cold front brings, I mean, it's downright chilly just north of the Great Lakes. In fact, if you're in areas of the UP and Michigan today, and especially eastern areas of the UP and Michigan, it's going to be quite chilly today. I mean, maybe temperatures only in the 50s and 60s for highs for your last day of August. So prepare for that. But you can actually see where the cold front is draped across, where you just got cooler, nicer conditions, 70s and 80s for the Ohio Valley, nicer conditions for the interior Northeast. But you can tell where the front hasn't fully went through yet. And you're deep into the 90s for the entire South, Southeast. Warm day for the Carolinas. Little Rock might get into the mid-90s. Oklahoma City, mid-90s. And just a very warm day into the middle of the country also, where the cold front just has not went through yet and might not make it through. This is what dew points could look like sometime midway to late this afternoon. Where do you see these greener colors? That's dew points in the 40s and 50s. That's where you have no humidity. It feels great out there. So how far south will this make it through the evening hours? We'll have to watch. I don't think this is going to make it all the way to the Gulf Coast, but I think it could get all the way down to Birmingham, Alabama, for example. But certainly folks from Charlotte to Raleigh, all the way up the I-95 corridor through Boston, New York City, you know, Delmarville, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Baltimore. Really nice dew points sweeping through if they haven't already. And it'll set up for a nice low humidity next 24 to 36 hours for sure. So Let's talk about the tropics. First off, check this out. This is 91L. Look at this huge area of convection that it kind of pops up and then it just implodes. But then with diurnal maximum, which is basically when the temperatures basically in the air above the ocean are at its most difference between the temperatures at the sea surface. So the sea surface temperatures might be, I don't know, 84 degrees out here. But the actual air temperature is maybe 75, 76. So that, I don't know, 7 to 8 to 9 degree difference causes what we call a stage called diurnal maximum in the morning hours. And that's why it always favors in the mornings, actually, a period of more explosive convection in any kind of tropical system. And that differences in the air and the air temperature from the air temperature of the sea and then the sea surface temperature actually creates some instability. It's kind of like when you look at steep lapse rates with thunderstorms. The quicker those temperatures decrease in the upper levels of the atmosphere, when they decrease really quickly with height, it causes basically the chances for more significant severe weather and stronger updrafts. So not to get deep into that, but that'll be more of something we watch when we actually have an appreciable tropical system to talk about. But if you notice, you've got blobs of convection really popping up all over again. So even though the convection from overnight kind of imploded, you got more convection forming. So we're still watching for this to really become a dominant vortice and a dominant just actual heart of this system. But right now, it's not. As of right now, it is definitely not. So we'll look at the latest models from this, and then we'll look at the entire Atlantic Basin because I want to show you. So stay tuned for that if you're still tuning in. And I want to show you the latest Euro through 10 days out because it looks very interesting. So we'll look at 91L. Here we go. This is moving through in time. We're getting into Friday morning. The Euro is north of the Leeward Islands and has still a weak system. 1,008 millibar low pressure. Still weak through the weekend. Getting all the way into Labor Day morning, it's still weak. But it's pretty south. So the European is much different than the GFS just because it's a weaker storm. So the weaker storm will go a little bit further west. More so than a stronger storm, which will turn much more quicker. So the weaker storm kind of just stalls out, and we're all the way into about 1 week out, and we're still dealing with this if the Euro comes to friction. Then the Euro finally, as we get into about 9 to 10 days out, picks this tropical energy up and surges it south of Bermuda, but it never really develops this. If you were to keep this run going, it might develop into a named storm. But then you look at the GFS. What does the latest GFS do with this? Well, it strengthens this into a tropical storm as early as Sunday morning, maybe Saturday afternoon. This coming Saturday into Sunday. Sorry, guys, my nose itches right now, and I cannot stop itching it. But anyways, you start to get into Labor Day morning, and this is an all-out hurricane. I would argue by the time we get into Tuesday morning, it's pushing a major hurricane, which is a Category 3 or higher. But look, Bermuda right here, tropical system right here, it's well south, and this has actually continued to trend south on the GFS. But the GFS has an all-out hurricane, while the European struggles even to make it into a tropical storm. Therefore, the GFS is much quicker. GFS has this storm actually this is now southeast of Bermuda next Tuesday morning. But if you look at the Euro, it still has it south of Bermuda, well south of Bermuda, and it's still Friday, it's still next Friday evening. Not this Friday evening, but next Friday evening. But the GFS has this as an all-out major hurricane 6 days from now. So massive difference as far as where this is in the time frame. So we'll look at the Euro. It's interesting to watch here. We're going through in time. Of course, we just talked about this. This is the other wave that has a 40% chance to develop. This is the other thing. By the time we get into Sunday afternoon, the European likes the idea of this being our next named storm, this being Tropical Storm Danielle, the same area that I just mentioned on here that has a 40% chance, a 50% chance to develop. So the European likes the idea of this becoming our next named storm and our first hurricane of the 2022 hurricane season. But then you got this, you're watching this, but it's a weak wave. We're getting all the way into Labor Day afternoon. But look at this. Look at how this number continues to drop. This actually becomes a borderline major hurricane, and then it's heading towards Europe at this point. But then you're watching this too. You're watching this feature. And meanwhile, old 91 Investel just sitting out here struggling, barely moving. And look at all these little pieces of energy right here. So it looks pretty active based off the latest Euro, and that's what I was talking to you about, showing you. It's interesting. And then you got this one right here, which is rotating around this ridge of high pressure, but moves on out to sea after finding a weakness. But then look at this one, this wave right here. Look how far south it's tracking. And at this point, 10 days out, very far out, I know. It's a hurricane in the middle of the main development region, and it's tracking due west. You do not want these kind of situations. This is a no-no. So one thing we watch out for this one, and I would argue that this is the fourth system to watch. Even though all these other ones might not be impactful, we're still watching them. But I would argue this is the fourth one. So it's active out there. It's about to get active. And it's active kind of right now as you got the pieces of energy just kind of waiting to develop. But we got to watch this in the long range. And in fact, we look at the European ensembles, and you got to pay attention to this. This is that signal for that fourth wave. This is that third wave. This is that second wave. Well, this was actually the second wave. You can call this the third wave. This is the little signal up here that has a chance to develop into a hurricane way up here in the northern Atlantic. And then this is our 91L, which all have abruptly turning and moving north and then northeast. But the ones that turn very quickly are the stronger ones. You notice these colored lines. Basically, you look at this graph anyways, but basically the stronger storms quickly turn north much quicker. But some of these are still very close to Bermuda, so we got to watch out for that. But none of these really that I see go into the southeast anymore. But you got to watch for this little signal right here, way in the long range, 8, 9, 10 days out. There is a signal for this wave right here on the ensembles. So it's just something we need to watch out for sure. So we'll continue to monitor this one. This is actually has got my eye as far as something we need to watch for that might be, I wouldn't even use the word threatening, but something to keep in mind for us. It's taken that really suddenly track that we worry about, and it's nothing to worry about because it hasn't even moved off the shoreline of North Africa yet. But I want to watch this and see if it continues to show up on the European on the ensembles, because this might be the next big topic in the hurricane season world out here. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and I'll be with y'all this evening.